Urgent! Vikings fan! Look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest your team news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Trey Amos would help round out Minnesota's corner depth. The Minnesota Vikings have retooled their secondary again this offseason, letting Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore test the market while retaining Byron Murphy and bringing in Isaiah Rodgers. Murphy is coming off one of the best seasons of his career, finishing with 6 interceptions and a Pro Bowl nod. Still, there are massive questions behind him. Rodgers offers a lot of promise, but he has produced on a limited snap size, and he must prove he can play like he did last year for an entire season. Mekhi Blackmon will return after missing his second season with a torn ACL. Therefore, the Vikings should consider using the draft to add more competition to their cornerback room. One player they could look to add is Trey Amos from Ole Miss. At 6'1", 195 lbs, Amos has the prototypical size for an outside cornerback. He also has the ideal length you would want for a cornerback and maximizes those physical advantages. Amos started his college career at the University of Louisiana, where he played from 2020 to 2022, before transferring to Alabama for 1 year, and finally to Ole Miss. He proved his worth at every stop, improving his play every year. While he is slightly older at 23, he also shows maturity. He excels in pressman coverage, using his size and length to jam his man at the line of scrimmage. Amos also can his hands to jam the receiver at the line and get the wide receiver off their timing. He makes the wide receivers work before even getting into the rep, forcing the wideouts to work harder on their releases. While Amos makes receivers work, he tends to get over-aggressive and cheat toward the outside, allowing some receivers to get inside releases on him. He's sticky in man coverage, using his physicality to close windows and make tight windows even tighter. Amos does an excellent job staying on his man on shorter and intermediate routes, sticking close to them at all costs. On vertical routes, Amos can use his size and length to give the receivers extra space before he uses his extra speed to get to the catch point to disrupt the pass. While his physicality is unique, the mental aspect of his game is equally impressive. Amos can process and compute route patterns as the play develops and is rarely confused by anything he sees in front of him. His spatial awareness is just as noteworthy. As an outside corner, Amos demonstrates an acute awareness of where he is relative to the sideline. He can also eat space and force the quarterback and receivers into tight spaces near the sidelines. Amos' physicality also shows up in the run game. While his tackling form is still far from perfect, he's tenacious in his pursuit of the ball carrier. He does have trouble tackling bigger players as he sometimes forgets his form and tries to out-physical them to the ground. That physicality sometimes gets Amos in trouble. He can get a little bit grabby down the field and draw flags. While that worked in college, NFL officials tend to call games more closely, and he will need to learn how to stay on the right side of the line between aggressive and illegal. While his man coverage skills are excellent, Amos must work on his zone coverage. He sometimes gets flat-footed or shows hesitation in figuring out his responsibility, leading to his man getting free. While these instances are few and far between, he must ensure they don't become a regular occurrence in the NFL. Amos' physicality and playstyle would largely fit within the Brian Flores defense. He would be an incredible addition to a secondary that feels a little bit thin. While pick 24 might be a little early for him, the Vikings could look to trade back and use a later day 1 or early day 2 pick on him while they recoup some draft capital. Pausing this news, just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Vikes news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Vikings trade. Prediction sends first round. Pick to Super Bowl contender, the Minnesota Vikings are expected to be aggressive in the 2025 NFL Draft, trying to add more selections. Going into the draft, the Vikings only have 4 picks. They have a first, a third, a fifth, and a 6th round pick. Most of their picks were lost in last year's trades to move up to get quarterback J.J. McCarthy and linebacker Dallas Turner. With the 24th overall pick in this year's draft, that selection could be used as a trade asset to move back and have more picks to make. Newsweek's Bryce Lazenby shared his mock draft, which has the Buffalo Bills trading up with the Vikings to select Texas Longhorns wide receiver Matthew Golden. Minnesota would then drop down to the Bills' 30th overall pick to select East Carolina cornerback Shavon Revel. The Vikings have very few picks to work with, so a trade down feels inevitable. In this scenario, the team moves down and lands Shavon Revel, who's capable of immediately starting in the team's secondary. Revel dealt with injury in 2024, but if healthy, Revel is a potential star. Revel only played 3 games last year as a torn ACL injury knocked him out for most of the year. He was off to a fast start with the Pirates, with 2 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, and 1 interception returned for a touchdown in that short span. This offseason, Revel did not participate in the NFL Combine, but did attend the East Carolina Pro Day. He participated in measurements and the bench press, doing 12 reps on the bench. Revel did not run on the Pro Day. Since 2010, Minnesota has selected 4 cornerbacks in the first round of the NFL Draft. 2013 first-round pick Xavier Rhodes was the only Pro Bowler, as he was selected to 3 of them and was first-team All-Pro in 2017. Minnesota needs another cornerback on the roster. Byron Murphy Jr. will be the starter, but there are questions regarding newcomers Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah. Bringing in a young cornerback like Revel could give the Vikings more depth at cornerback, and someone could develop into a starter. Vikings eyeing J.J. McCarthy's former teammate. After concerning Pro Day, the Minnesota Vikings have a winner in J.J. McCarthy and are looking into adding more talent that won a national championship with Michigan. According to KSTP's Darren Wolfson, the Vikings sent defensive backs coach Durante Jones, considered one of Brian Flores' top defensive assistants and a future coordinator in the making, to Ann Arbor to watch 3-time All-American cornerback Will Johnson at his Pro Day. However, Johnson's Pro Day did not go according to plan. Many NFL teams sent scouts to Johnson's Pro Day as there are concerns about his speed translating to the NFL level. Johnson, ailing from a turf toe injury that forced him to miss 6 games for the Wolverines last season, did not end up running the 40-yard dash, per The Athletic's Dane Brugler. Johnson's draft profile has become clouded by his decision to not run the drill at the NFL Combine, Michigan's initial Pro Day due to a hamstring malady, and now his individual Pro Day. The concerns about his top-end speed will linger with just 10 days before the draft. That could be to the benefit of the Vikings, who could land the consensus number 2 cornerback behind Travis Hunter for a potential steal if they take the risk or see him fall far from his middle-of-the-first-round projections. Johnson has garnered comparisons to Darius Slay and J.C. Horn and is deemed a better fit for a zone scheme, which Brian Flores has deployed in the past, but has also shown a desire to play more man coverage. Here's his scouting report from Pro Football Focus. PFF Johnson earned 5 starts in 2022 as a true freshman before starting 11 games in Michigan's national championship campaign in 2023. He missed most of his 2024 season due to a severe case of turf toe as well as a minor shoulder injury. The 6'2", 200-pound outside cornerback has some of the quickest feet you will see. Though his limited long speed makes zone schemes his best fit, he can play pressman due to how quick he is to stop, start, and change direction. His long arms come in handy for forced incompletions, a number that was near the 55th percentile over the past 2 years. His frame is leaner and lighter, but he still shows decent effort in run defense. Strength and tackling aren't his strong suits, though, and he was even more inconsistent there in 2024. When Johnson keeps his eyes on the quarterback in off-zone coverage, he has good instincts to jump routes and bait throws, as evidenced by his 9 interceptions and 3 pick-sixes in college, how Aaron Rodgers emboldened Vikings to make J.J. McCarthy decision. The Minnesota Vikings were led to make a decision regarding quarterback J.J. McCarthy by Aaron Rodgers coming into the equation. The Minnesota Vikings appear to be committed to J.J. McCarthy as the franchise's quarterback, despite Aaron Rodgers being linked to the team this offseason. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell had confidence in McCarthy heading into last season. Prior to his season-ending injury, per Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, it started showing up more and more, O'Connell said, and that's always a real positive from my perspective, when you can really start stacking coaching points onto things that he's showing improvement on or ownership of. His overall understanding of our offense, the comfort level, even in the reps, whether it was versus the number 1 defense or in competitive situations in practice, you were starting to see him play faster but under control while still maintaining the principles that we're coaching. Following their decision not to bring Sam Darnold back after the success he had in Minnesota last season, the Vikings had a choice to make about their quarterback situation. That is how Aaron Rodgers became linked to the team. This isn't a team. In a reset that can afford to sacrifice games in the name of quarterback rearing. Minnesota won 14 games last year, with a strong core of veterans that have every right to feel like they're close, Greer wrote. That's why, in the end, the Vikings made bids to keep Sam Darnold first and then Daniel Jones to ensure the position. As best they could, it's also why they had to consider the idea of Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings did end up deciding to go in on McCarthy, showing how much trust they have in him to lead the team. It's also why the decision now to lock in with McCarthy is significant, Breer wrote. The Vikings' whole approach this offseason was to not leave their fate to chance. Now it's up to the 22-year-old to show that by going with him, and for now him alone, Minnesota really didn't. McCarthy has the confidence of his teammates ahead of the season. The Minnesota Vikings O-line is getting expensive. While they've been intentional with the type of free agents signed, the Minnesota Vikings and their head decision-makers, whoever they are, were incredibly active at the start of 2025 NFL free agency, filling major needs in the secondary, backfield, and both trenches. It wasn't cheap either. As mentioned, the Vikings carefully targeted as many players as possible who would affect their 2026 comp pick formula, but that didn't mean they weren't willing to spend money. As expected, the front office spent a large chunk of their bloated 2025 salary cap space within the first week of free agency's opening bell. Minnesota Vikings invested heavily into current offensive line when their 2024 season came to an abrupt end in the first round of the NFC playoffs. Both head coach Kevin O'Connell and GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah made it their public mission to improve this offseason on the interior of both the offensive and defensive lines. Related ranking the best remaining Minnesota Vikings QB options, there are legitimate questions surrounding the age and injury history of the veterans they have added in the trenches, but the vision is clear. On defense, the Vikings signed proven interior talents, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, who should immediately fix that weakness, if healthy. And according to popular NFL analyst Warren Sharp, the signings of C. Ryan Kelly and R.G. Wilfries on the O-line have pushed the Vikings' offensive line to the fifth most expensive in the entire league at $64. $4 million on the books for 2025. 1. 95. 3M Panthers 2, 81, 5M Chiefs 3, 67, 7M Giants 4, 66, 1M Bears 5, 64, 4M Vikings 6, 63, 9M Lions 7, 62, 3M Broncos 8, 61, 4M Commanders 9, 60, 0M Chargers 10, 58, 5M Titans 11, 58, 5M Falcons 12, 55, 8M Eagles 13, 52, 4M Texans 14, 51, 9M Bills 15, 51, 4M Browns 16, 49, 1M Rams 17, 48, 8M Cowboys 18, 48, 0M Colts 19, 46, 9M Patriots 20, 46, 6M Cardinals 21, 44, 2M Packers 22, 44, 0M 49ers 23, 43, 8M Saints 24, 42, 0M Jaguars 25, 39, 5M Jets 26, 38, 8M Bengals 27, 37, 7M Dolphins 28, 32, 6M Raiders 29, 31, 0M Buccaneers 30, 28, 3M Steelers 31, 23, 0M Seahawks 32, 19, 8M Ravens. Remember, that 64 $4 million number will change between now and the start of the 2025 NFL season. The Minnesota Vikings could sign another veteran at some point, maybe a LG. It's very possible they spend some of their draft capital later this month on the O-line too. Kwesi, O'Connell proved to be men of their word. In either case, the amount invested will depend on the talent acquired. We may also see contract restructures that affect the O-line cost next season. Brian O'Neill, for example, has a restructure clause in his deal, which is due to pay him $26 million in 2025 that the Vikings can trigger to gain immediate cap space in exchange for more cash up front. But no matter what changes we see to the total dollars spent between now and September, there's no doubt the Minnesota Vikings paid off their promise to invest in the interior offensive line this offseason. The $64.4 million includes $6 million still owed to Garrett Bradbury, according to Spotrac.com. As long as the newcomers can stay healthy, a bet that is worth questioning, it appears the long-time interior OL issues we have all complained about for the last decade may finally be behind us. Of course, this is Minnesota, and we don't usually get nice things here. So until we see it, most Vikings fans will be hard-pressed to fully believe. And now, Vikings fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Vikes. I'll be back any moment with more Vikings news. Skål, Vikings.